All right. Well, welcome. We are excited that you are here. This is Limitless Life. I am Pastor Keenan, and I'm here with Pastor Ryan. And we're excited about just to have this opportunity. This is the first one.
Number one.
This is number
We've
one.
been talking about this for a little while, though.
So, yeah, we've been trying to do this for the past 2 years. So I'm of the thought that better late than never. Yeah.
I got some comments I'm not going to make on that one.
Timing.
That's good. Timing's everything.
Timing is everything. All right. So for those of us who you may be tuning in, you have no idea who I am, or who we are, what we are about. Limitless Life. Our goal is to take the limits off of the way that people see Jesus, off of the way that they see faith, off of the way that they see church, and really to have some real conversations just around those topics, and to give our perspective of what's happening, what's going on in the world, what's going on in the faith, some of our ideas, our thoughts, and kind of really process those out here.
Yeah.
I think people see or hear one side of ministry, or they hear one side, but we're gonna lay it all out.
Throw it out there.
We're just gonna throw it out there.
We come from different backgrounds,
Yes.
which helps, gives
Yes.
a perspective shift.
Yes.
I was raised in the church my whole life, and third generation pastor, and I've got all this spiritual heritage and all this investment and all this stuff, this ground that I've been building my life on, and come from it. And you've got a different
I'm
background.
from the hood.
Yeah, a little different.
Yeah,
a little different.
I'm from the hood. First generation pastor.
Yeah.
I'm from Atlanta, Georgia, born and raised. I come from South Side, College Park. I got in church because my mama made me go to church.
Yeah,
and then I wound up liking it. Got in youth ministry, and I've been surrounded by ministry since I was a teen. And this is my first role as an SP and senior pastor.
Yeah.
And man.
So I'll have to say, the perspectives, the ideas, the opinions, they come from, you can only draw your opinions based on your experiences and what you come from. But the fun part is we come from two different backgrounds, but we believe the same, we love the same. So it's going to be a lot of fun to see how this thing goes.
Yeah, man. I feel like this is going to be a lot of fun. I feel like it's going to be a lot of fun.
Okay. We'll find out.
All right. So let's jump in it. The first topic I wanted to cover, just because you and I talked about this these past couple of weeks, is this idea of university.
Yeah.
Unity in the midst of diversity. We have a very diverse church, multicultural church, multi-generational church. And that's not just like one person of color. It's a few of them.
There's a lot of us.
It's a lot of us in there,
Yeah.
and a lot of different backgrounds. And as I said on the pulpit, I think God did that for a specific reason. Our city is multicultural, multi-generational, multi-ethnic. And I think in order for us to reach our city, our church should be a reflection of our city. Not only that, one of our values, our ideals when it came to our church is to have a church that we believe that looks like heaven. Every ethnicity, every color, every age is going to be in heaven. And so we wanted to be a church that looks like that as well. Not just, that's our idea, but no, it reflects that in our leadership. It reflects that in our stage. It reflects that in our congregation. So the reason that I got on this unity thing was really because I felt like it was, you just have those moments in messages. You have those moments in when the Lord is leading you towards something, and I didn't really know it. But I would say that this is monumental to the culture of our church. But not only that, it's something that was so dear to Jesus.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It was a big deal.
A lot of diversity around him.
Jesus preached. He said,
right.
Jesus prayed, and he says, I pray that they would be one as we are one.
Correct.
And then he says, not only that, I pray that because he says, so that they would know that you sent me, right? And that they would know that you love them as much as you love me. And when you look around at the world right now, a lot of it is rooted in this individualism, in this self preservation, this ideal of I'm only concerned about me and my thing, and this division that has been rampant, now for a while, and the perpetuation of division.
Well, that verse is just unity, and we talked about this a lot in the last couple of weeks. But unity, when there is a unity, and you said it, know that you sent me, so that they may know that you sent me. That's a calling. There's a purpose. Yeah. When you're unified, unity comes with a calling, comes with a purpose, it comes with a goal. There is a vision, a goal that God has. So Jesus says that they would know that you sent me. There's a calling.
Yeah.
And that they are loved. There's an identity.
Yeah.
There's a calling and there's an identity. And when you're unified in those things, you know who you are and you know what you're working toward.
Yeah.
And if a church will know who it is, know what it is, know what it's been defined as by God, and then know the purpose, the vision, the identity, where it's going, there's nothing that can stop that church. And so there's so much of, and we talked about this, I preached on this a couple weeks ago. If I was the devil, I wouldn't attack a church. I would get a church to attack itself.
Yeah.
Because when a church attacks itself, it has completely nullified its authority. It's completely shut down its drive and its purpose and what it was put in that city for. And then the identity of that church becomes so convoluted because you're arguing your side and I'm arguing my side. And instead of seeing that we come together in one, we're over here in different camps going, but mine's better, but mine's different, but mine's love, but mine's grace. And we've got all these different ideologies and opinions that are not conflicting, but we make them conflicting. And that's when you start to have split.
I feel like this is, I love that you said that. This is where it gets hairy right here. You just said, but mine's different, mine's this, mine's love, mine's grace. Here's where the problem is. But mine's is right.
Yeah.
But mine's is right.
Yeah. Yeah. You
and
have
that's
to be right.
Where the problem lies. Because you believe that you're right and this person is wrong. But I don't understand how could, no. You believe that you're right and this person is wrong. And whether that be ideology, whether that be politics, whether that be the way that you vote, the way that you believe. But I'm right and this person is wrong. So how can we be unified if they're wrong and I'm right? And it's this holding up this idea of what you say is the final authority, what you believe is exactly right, and you're 100% on the ball. So I said when I preach, nobody has the corner market on the entire knowledge of Jesus. Yeah. Every day we're learning more about the word. We're learning more about the person of Jesus.
Because the word of God is living and active. It's living, not that it changes,
right?
But it's living and active. So if you and I are keeping in step with the Spirit, then we should also be growing every day. And if you can get up every morning and go, I'm 100% right all day long, then you are 100% not going to grow that day. So the question I have based on that comment, which is a really good comment, why is it that we feel, why is it that we have this innate desire that we have to be right? Where does that come from?
I think it's pride.
Well, it's
pride all day.
It's pride and insecurity.
And it's which is pride, which is rooted in insecurity, which is ultimately rooted in fear.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
It's ultimately rooted in this fear, and this fear that has been purported in the news, in social media, in conversations, and it's this fear. And so you got to grab a hold of something. And so you grab a hold to this thing and you believe that thing is right. And now there's this sense of puffed upness that comes along with it. But the Bible says he gives grace to the humble.
He does. Yep.
It doesn't say I give grace to the proud.
I oppose the proud, he says, and I give grace to the humble.
I oppose. Yep. Scripture says I am, what is it? There's a version that says, I am actively against the proud.
Yeah. God's undefeated. I mean, it's one of those deals where I wake up in the morning and go, if God's undefeated and he's opposing the proud, then I should probably do everything I can to be humble, humble myself that day so I don't have an undefeated God standing against me. And the other thing I think that I have to be right, and we said it comes from an insecurity. Insecurity comes from not knowing who you are.
Yeah.
And insecurity is developed in a lack of identity, in a lack of knowing who you are, and a lack of knowing what you are. And all of that, and you think about our world, you talk about what's perpetuated in our world today. There is an identity issue in our world today. We were just talking about this earlier. If you do not find an identity in your sexuality today, you are seen as a bigot. You are seen as an outcast. You are seen as a hater. You are seen what? It's almost like this identity. People are grasping for one.
Yeah.
You have to have one. Everyone knows they need an identity, but there's so much insecurity because they don't get their identity from the one who made them.
Wow.
The one who gave you your fingerprints, the one who put breath in your lungs, the one who knows the amount of hairs that are on your head, the one who called you, the one who knit you together. If you don't get your identity from the one who made you and you get your identity from something else who was also given identity, why are we getting it's a cheap imitation. So you start trying to grasp at things that other people are telling you should have. And if you don't know who you are, you'll become what somebody else says that they think you should be. And then there's an insecurity in that because you were never made to be that.
It's like this it's almost this building your foundation on sand.
100%.
And you've put
100%.
your identity in something that will ultimately fail you.
100%.
But you grasp so hard onto it. You're like, there's no way that this could fail me. Yet, even in that identity, here's where pride comes in. In that identity, you still feel unfulfilled. And so instead of you recognizing that, you go harder into this unfulfilled identity, thinking that will sustain the foundation when it doesn't. And ultimately, as always, it fails. Our identity can only be found in Christ.
What was it? I just read this in the back. I wrote this note. When we develop a theology to defend our right to fail, we will never win.
Come on.
So when we're wrong, instead of saying, "Hey, I'm wrong. I missed it."
Yeah.
Help me find what's right.
Yeah.
We go, I might be wrong, but my truth is my truth.
Thank you.
And your truth is your truth.
If I hear somebody say my truth one more time.
Well, but that's where we're at. It's my truth. No, sir, there's the truth.
Yeah.
And then there is everything else.
Yeah.
And so if it's your truth, but your truth doesn't match up with the truth, what is it?
It's not the truth.
It's not the truth. But we can't accept that.
Yeah.
We can't accept because we're not right.
Because we've gone so hard.
Yeah.
We've gone so hard for it. And then pride says,
Point of no return,
I'm not
full
going
sin.
to admit that I'm wrong or that I was incorrect. Rather, Bible says, I give grace to the humble rather than being humble enough to say, you know what? There's a chance that I could be wrong.
So what happens when this takes place in church?
Yeah.
What happens? This is what happens. Now, I'm asking the question, but my opinion on this thing first. When we have somebody in the church that has gone so hard, full send on my theology is right.
Yeah.
Because I studied under this university. I read this book, right?
And I Googled.
Listened to this, and I Googled it.
Yeah.
You know, Google is the greatest theological teacher in the world right now. Because if I'm not willing to sit back and go, you're right, I'm wrong, I missed it, what happens? I'm just not being fed here anymore. I'm going to go to another church. They're just not feeding me. Or we've been throwing the P word around all day today, preference. I'm going to go to a church that feeds my preference and gives me what I prefer to hear and what I prefer to see and what I prefer to believe. And now I have found a whole bunch of like-minded, incorrect people.
Yeah.
You can be like-minded and still be wrong.
Yes.
And that's what happens. And I'm not saying that we're right and everybody else is wrong.
Right, of course.
What I'm saying is in agreement with what you're saying is that if you cannot humble yourself and you start to become arrogant and you can't say, I'm wrong, I need to sit back, submit myself to leadership that God has put me under. All authority in heaven and on earth has been established by God. So if you're choosing to submit yourself to this leadership and to this authority, then humble yourself under that authority and trust that the Lord is going to speak through that authority and speak through that person. Sure. And if you can't and you leave yourself and you uproot everything you uproot and you go try and transplant yourself. You said you got a green thumb. What happens when you pull up a plant every single day and put it in a different part in the yard?
That mug ain't never going to grow.
It's going to die.
Check this out. The only people who can't feed themselves, babies.
Yeah. Say it again. The only people who can't feed themselves,
babies.
Infants.
So when you come to me and say, I'm not getting fed, and you're not a baby or someone who is so, old.
Or you shouldn't be a baby. You shouldn't be an infant in the faith.
Then the problem is you. Because now you have made it the responsibility of the pastor to be your ultimate feeding. So wait a minute. You only get fed once a week? Well, let's not even go there because you don't come every Saturday or Sunday. You don't even do that.
That's generous. Thank you.
Yeah, that's generous. But let's just say You only get fed once a week. You're going to starve. You can't do that in life.
Yep.
It is up to you to go and feed yourself outside of what you're getting at a service. Let's bring this back to unity. Because I think, and this is what I feel like we got to work on, is we're unified. Like you said, we're unified with those who agree with us, right? But when it comes to something that we can't or we don't agree with, even if it's not a primary situation, right? It's not a primary thing. What are the primary things? Jesus was the Son of God.
Yep.
Okay. He died and he rose. Salvation is by grace and not of works.
Amen.
Primary things.
Yep. The Holy Spirit. Baptism given through the Holy Spirit.
Given through the Holy Spirit. Primary things.
Yep.
You want to be upset, or you can't seem to be in unity with someone who has a disagreement or has, let me not even say that, who has a difference of opinion or difference of interpretation than you on a secondary thing. You're not even mad at the primary, because we agree on the primaries, but you want to be divided over secondary. And I think this is why Paul was all through Corinthians. Y'all need to get it together.
Well, he says the world is going to know who you are by how you agree with one another. No. The world's going to know who you are by how you concur with what. No. The world's going to know who you are by how you love one another. And he's not talking about us to non-believers.
Yes.
He's talking about us in the church.
Because he was talking to believers.
And he says,
he wasn't writing letters to the world.
You can do good to heathens. You can do good to this. You can do good. Even non-believers do that. That's not what separates you. What separates us from the world is the way we treat each other, by how we love one another. You and I could have completely different ideologies, opinions, theologies, political differences, backgrounds, socioeconomic understanding. We can come from two completely different sides of the planet, but we are united under the fact that we are both sinners saved by grace who have been called by God to reach the world. And if we can't come together and love one another under that one biblical principle, then you and I have forfeited our authority in the city that we've been called to.
So what is it? Like, it baffles me. And I look at what is causing this, and I'm asking, but I'm also, I feel like we've allowed the world to determine what our unity can be in the body.
Yes. Well, it's because people bring in things that don't carry eternal value, and they make those, like you said, secondary things. They make those primary things.
Yeah. Yeah.
If they don't carry eternal value, they shouldn't be a primary objective. They shouldn't be a primary focus. It doesn't mean they're not important.
Right.
It doesn't mean that in some area of life they don't carry value.
Right.
But if they are not of an eternal significance, they should not cause division in the body.
What do you think, though? Why do you think it's so? Why do you think it's so much right now?
Because I think that things, and right now it's politics.
Right.
I think that because politics is a lot easier to put your hands on and change, and it's something that you can easily get angry at and point a finger at and blame somebody, because we're really good at blame shifting. We don't like to take responsibility. So I can point a finger and blame somebody and get a lot of people to rah-rah me. It's a lot easier because there's a physical person doing physical things that I can physically touch, see, smell, and feel the effects of, versus in the spiritual, it requires a lot more faith for me to be able to do something with that than it does in the practical.
Right.
Okay.
And the work that you have to do. Because we don't want to put in work. We don't. I don't.
I just want to blame somebody for the problems instead of work on helping provide a solution. Whereas when in the spiritual, working on providing a solution, I got to sacrifice.
Yeah.
I got to pray.
Yeah.
I got to give. I got to be selfless. And I gotta love people I don't want to love. But in the physical, in this arena that we're in right now in our country, I just gotta blame you. I just gotta post a really witty meme about it. Guilty as charged. I gotta say I can't believe this and I can't believe that, and I only talk to people about it who agree with me.
Yeah, yeah.
And that doesn't require that I love them. It doesn't require that I give to them. It doesn't require that I lay down my life for them.
Yeah.
None of that. So it feels a lot better. It caters to my human nature. That's why it's a lot easier now, because my human nature is being satisfied, and I'm not submitting to the Spirit.
So what you're saying is that one of those things is you walking in the flesh, and one of them is you walking in the Spirit.
You could say it that way, yeah. You could say it that way, yeah.
Because that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, one is really you just walking in the flesh, or how you feel, your emotions, and what you want to do, and whether or not you want to do something. The other one is literally you sacrificing all of that so that you can unite. And it's we don't want to do the work that unity requires.
So what does Scripture say? To walk in the flesh is death.
Yeah.
And to keep in step with the Spirit is life.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's a lot easier to walk in the flesh.
Yeah.
Feels better momentarily, but we go back to it. Does it carry eternal value?
Yeah. And I think that, as the Lord was preparing the message, and I'm, trying to jot it all down as the downloads coming through, and even as I'm preaching it, I think there has to be a moment where we come together and we say, you know what? We are not going to tolerate division in the body. And as a leader, as a pastor, I'm like, look, and I said it from the pulpit, look, I'm not going to tolerate this in this church. There will not be division in this church. And then if we find out about it, we're going to handle it. Why? Because we can't expect to reach a city if we're divided.
So you said tolerant.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about the world will know who we are by how we love one another.
Right.
There's a lie that says love is tolerant. Love is not tolerant.
Thank you.
Love is a lot of things.
Yes.
1 Corinthians 13 lists what love is.
Yes.
Tolerant is not amongst those things.
No, it is not.
Love isn't tolerant. Tolerance says, I see what you're doing is wrong, and I'm going to let it be. I'm going to tolerate it.
Right.
You ever seen an infant or a child or a toddler? You got little boys, I got little boys.
Yes.
When we tolerate bad behavior, what does it do?
It perpetuates, and it gets
more
bigger.
bad, and it gets worse. It grows. Jesus didn't tolerate sin. Jesus didn't tolerate that kind of Jesus loved them where they were, but he demanded that they change.
Come on.
And he gave them what they needed to change. And the woman caught in adultery, people get that caught up all the time.
Yes.
No, Jesus didn't tolerate the sin. What did he say? Now go and sin
no more.
That's right. He didn't condemn her for it, but he didn't accept it either.
Right.
Tolerance and love do not walk hand in hand.
Right.
Love is patient, love is kind, but it is not tolerant.
Right.
And so when you say that we have you said, I will not tolerate this in our church anymore.
Right.
That is love.
Yeah.
I love you enough to not let that be in this body.
And that's really what it is. I love you enough, and I care enough about the body, and I care enough about the city of Woodland, and I care enough about what God has called us to do in this city that the house got to get right first.
That's right.
We got to get right first. We're not going to allow the political division. We're not going to allow a sociological division. We're not going to allow racial division. None of that stuff. We're going to address this stuff.
Yep.
We're going to address it by the word of God. We're going to be unified under Jesus, under what he said and what he said that we would do. That's where we are. And anything outside of that, you can kick rocks. At some point, we got to stand up. You see, I'm like passionate. I'm like fired up now. At some point, we got to stand up and do the work, because for too long, and I feel like this is a pivotal moment in the kingdom for us to do that. But I don't think people want to do the work, and they don't want to take the responsibility, and they're not willing to take the L's that's going to come from being unified. But that's what this is all about.
Well, because the L's are personal L's for the collective W.
Yes.
And that's hard. It's hard to humble yourself and to take on the posture of a servant when you want the title of fill in the blank.
Right.
You said something a minute ago. You cannot reach the city until the house has been unified.
Yes.
So it starts in the house. So this is where my mind goes. I love outreach, love missions, big evangelism. I love that stuff. Getting outside the four walls.
Yeah.
Absolutely part of the gospel. Before a church is able to focus on reaching the lost, how can it first focus on being unified so that it can walk in the full authority that is the unity of the gospel? How do we do that? You're working through this yourself still, so I'm not expecting
but I really think that we're we address things because for far too long we've skirted around. We've chosen not to address, not to
you just take it head on.
Just take it head on, and you have conversations. I said this in my message. I don't have my notes, but I said this, and it went over everybody's head. I noticed went over everybody's head because when I said it, I knew it. I said in those things, and I said in those people that we don't understand, we have conversations so that we can gain understanding, so that we can be unified. Mm-hmm. Okay, in those things that we don't understand, we have conversations so that we can gain understanding, so that we can be unified. What do you mean? You may disagree with a political stance that I might take. Mm-hmm. Instead of you pointing fingers and being divisive, as a brother in Christ, we should have conversations. Mm-hmm. Not so that you can bend to my side or whatever, what have you, but so that you can have an understanding of how I think, how I feel, where I'm coming from, so that you can find a place of unification and be unified.
There's a reason you've come to that opinion in yourself, and there's a backstory to it. And instead of just going, well, you're wrong at face value, we've got to see that there's a whole lot more to the person than just their stance.
And I think and in those things, you may, why is this happening? Or why is that happening? Why, I just don't understand. How could you support this? Or how could you be about that? Or how could you like this? Or how could you say that? Again, you have conversations so that you can gain understanding, so that you can find an area of unity. Because it all goes around because what we've done is we've tried to have conversations so that we can point out where you're wrong.
We like to argue.
So that we can further be divisive.
We want to argue you into agreement with us.
And that doesn't work. We've tried it for so long. At some point, we got to try something different.
And at some point, there are going to be some things you just don't agree on.
And that's okay.
That is absolutely okay. Can I tell you why that's okay? Because when you and I both die and we stand in eternity together, we're going to be worshiping the same God. Doesn't matter what we agreed or disagreed on down here on earth, because we're going to be together in heaven worshiping together. Yeah. So at some point, you've got to get past the things you don't agree on and understand that the foundation for the church is what you need to agree on. And the foundation, you said it, Jesus is the Son of God. We're sinners. He came and died for our sin. He rose and ascended. The Holy Spirit came down and the church took off. And that's it. If we can agree on that, then we understand the mission of the church.
We have to uproot the spirit of pride.
Yeah. That's easier said than done.
And
for everyone listening, you would rather have him cut that out of you than have him, let me say it this way. You'd rather have him tear the root of pride out of your life than have him cut you off from the vine altogether.
Wow. That's good.
Something I've learned in my life.
Right.
If your life is producing fruit that does not fruit that is not good, bad fruit.
Right.
You can cut the branch off, it will still grow back.
Right.
How do you kill it? You pull the root out altogether.
Right.
It's painful, it's dirty, it's hard work, and it's ugly, but you would rather have him pull the root of the issue out of your life than cut you off from the vine altogether. Because we know what he does to things that don't produce fruit.
Right.
He cuts them off and throws them into the fire. So if I don't want him to cut me off from the vine altogether and throw me, God, come tear out whatever in me you don't want there so that I can produce fruit that will last.
Yeah. That's good.
And you're right. We got to tear the root of pride out of the church completely, or we will be cut off.
And I think that that fear, does God love me? One, is God going to do what he said he's going to do? Am I going to make it? Is everything going to be okay? All of these fears and these questions come together, and you're trying to walk that out and you're trying to work that out, and it's caused this unsurety in you. And this unsurety, you can't show that, so you have to mask it or overcompensate it.
You overcompensate.
Which
is a mask.
With this matter-of-factness that has now become pride, and it's all rooted in fear because of this idea of whether or not God loves you, if he's going to do what he said he's going to do, whether you're going to be okay. And you don't deal with the root. You're still, oh no, maybe it's a political stance. It's not a political stance. Oh no, maybe it's just, no, what it is this fear that ultimately has been allowed to take root in your life and has been allowed really to take root in the body because there's nobody wants to address it. We rather take sides because it benefits the bottom line. It benefits the giving. It benefits the attendance numbers.
Yeah, butts in the seats. Yeah. We're going to say what they want to hear.
Let me tell you something, because I know you're about to say something awesome. I know you're about to say something awesome.
I'm about to say something. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Listen. I've been broke before. Okay? Been broke before. I know what it is. So, I was a Christian hip-hop artist, right? Traveled, did that, loved it. I know what it is to rock stages of 2 or 3 or 5. I also know what it is to rock stages of 10,000. I also know what it is to fly across the world and do tours, right?
Yeah.
I perform the same for 5 as I do for 10,000.
Seen it. It's true.
Same way.
It's true.
See what I'm saying? It's the same way. It don't matter. So for me, when people are like, well, how can you say that? Or how can you do this? Let me tell you something. I love what I do. Yeah. There is nothing that I would rather do than minister the gospel. But nobody has a hold over me. Finances and butts in the seats don't have a hold over me. Because guess what? I'm a preach the same way. If it's me and Sonya and Cadence and Caius, I'm going to preach the same way.
Because they're not your provider. The people aren't the...
If we put aside, what'd you say? And I just wrote this down. If we put aside a preference, help the people.
And quit sacrificing the power, then we will have an eternal value.
Say it again. They didn't hear you. Say it for the people in the back. Say it again.
If we'll put aside preference and walk in our power, and that power is in the unity that we as the body have through the empowerment of the Holy Spirit, if we will put aside preference and walk in power, we will have an eternal impact in a city.
All right. So
you were talking a minute ago about where pride comes from.
Yeah.
And it's a mask. And it's true. And it's true, and I can tell you and everyone listening that it is true, because that was me. For a season of my ministry, there was an arrogance, a pride I walked in, and the pride was a mask of, is God for me? Does God really, does he love me? Because, and the only reason, because there was a sin issue that had been swept, hidden, tucked. It was addressed, but it wasn't completely dealt with.
Right.
The branch had been cut off, but the root hadn't been torn out. And so when you allow that, and what the Bible says, sin when it's fully grown gives birth to death, right? When pride, when someone's walking in this arrogance, pride it's a red flag indicator that there's a deep sin root issue of something in their world that they don't want you to see. So they put on this facade, this facade of I got it all together, I'm confident, I know what I'm talking about, I can walk it. There was this question mark over my head all the time of, when's this going to get discovered? Is God still going to use me? God, why? God. And it's a terrible place to live, let alone minister from. Because it's not desperation on God. It's desperation of value. It's desperation of affirmation from people. Because then your identity is no longer from what God has done for you and who God says you are. Your identity is what people are telling you and whether or not you're reaching the masses. And that is when you start to live your life and minister and preach for the bottom line, because I need it from them instead of I'm getting it from God.
It reminds me of, I just think about a shifty car salesman. and you trying to go get a car, and you're like, wait a minute. Why is this like this? He's like, oh no, come check out these new tires, man. We just put these brand new tires on there for you.
Yeah.
We got the radio, look at the leather interior, man.
Yeah.
This thing is good. You don't have to worry about that. Yeah, we'll get that taken care of. Don't worry about it. And it's like, no, come look at this. Come look at this so that you don't see that something is really wrong. And the thing I love about the Lord is the Lord says, I look at the heart of man.
Yep.
I know what's going on.
You might look at the outside,
but I'm looking at the inside. And what did he tell the prophet? He said, I've rejected them. He said, don't look at their faces.
Don't consider his appearance or his height.
Because I've already rejected them.
Because you look at the outside, but I look at the heart. And I'm telling you, for too long, I ministered out of a place of, is God really for me?
Yeah.
Is God really with me? Does God love me? Or because I knew he knew.
Yeah.
You know, we have what we call secret sin in church, but there's no secret from the Father. So God knows. And ultimately, he's going to deal with it. One way or another, you're going to have an opportunity to deal with it. And whether or not you can kill your pride in that moment, can I just tell you something real quick? You need to be very careful what you pray. Yeah. Very careful. I asked God, before all this stuff in my world broke out, I prayed 2 prayers, dangerous prayers. I suggest you pray them, but only if you really mean it. Right. God, break me. Break me. And God, reveal the sin issues in my life you want to deal with. Right. I prayed them.
And it happened.
Yeah. And there's a freedom I walk in now. There's a revelation of love I've never known before. There's this feeling of I don't care if people like or don't like, agree or don't agree, approve or don't approve, because I'm not working for that anymore.
Right, exactly.
So then you can come to a spot where you're unified with the Father, unified with the Son, unified in the Holy Spirit. You plus God is a majority. We've heard that before. Mm-hmm. So if every believer could be unified with the Father, we would have no issue being unified with each other.
Now, and this is going to have to be 2 parts, so I'll close it here, but I want to close it with this question. Has that allowed you to be more graceful to others whom you may disagree with or whom you may not have, see eye to eye on, simply because now you have a greater revelation of God's love?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's in Scripture. You have to give grace if you expect grace. God says if you don't forgive, you won't be forgiven. And it doesn't just work with forgiveness. Right. So if I need grace in my life, I need to extend grace to other people. And absolutely, there are people I don't agree with, people that have hurt me, people that have disagreed with me, people that have spoken out against me. I extend grace. Yeah. Because I need it. Yeah. I needed it. He gave it to me. I still need it every day. And if I need it, I need to give it, because I don't want to stop the flow of grace in my life to my life, so I don't want to stop the flow of grace out of my life. It's changed my perspective of people for sure. Yeah.
Taking the limits off of the way that you see Jesus' faith in the church. Part 1 is done. We'll see you for part 2 of University. Pastor Keenan, Pastor Ryan. Don't forget, guys, live limitless. God bless.
See you.